Hey guys, welcome back to RHR Jen. I'm so glad you're here, guys. Today we're continuing on with Betrayal. Oh, Cantankerous, what do you have for us today? So I believe this is going up on Monday. So tomorrow is Her Majesty the Late Queen's birthday. So we want to go ahead and wish her a happy, what would have been her 100th birthday. Oh, we miss her so much. I do have a video going up tomorrow where I talk about her, so look for that. But let's get into Betrayal. If you're new here, I'm Jen. Welcome. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the thumbs up and leave me comments, as all those helps YouTube to recommend my videos. I sincerely appreciate that. Yes, we're in Betrayal. I love this book. We're in chapter 41. It is contrasting lives. So we're going to read this. We only have 2 more chapters, I believe, after this. So, but this was a great chapter. I'm excited to get into this one, and let's jump in, shall we? So Bower is using this chapter to draw a sharp line showing the contrast between the behavior of Harry and Meghan versus the rest of the royal family. And I find the timing of this impeccable because, again, look at this disaster trip. It's not a tour, vacation that Harry and Meghan just took to Australia versus how the actual working royals would have handled things and how they act. But while the royals, especially King Charles, William, Catherine, etc., Princess Anne, continue to serve with dignity under immense pressure, those two remain trapped in bitterness, self-promotion, and hypocrisy. So this chapter was really good. It was a longer chapter. We got a lot of information in this chapter. It starts by circling back to the Sentebale drama, which again is fun in real time because we know Dr. Sophie Chandauka has sued Harry as well as that Dyer guy for libel. So speaking of which, I do have friend of the show, John Witherspoon, coming on very soon to answer some of our legal questions. So if you have questions about any of this stuff, let me know in the comments and I'll try to get those over to him as soon as I can. Thank you so much. All right. So let's talk the opening of this chapter. I'm going to hit some of the points of this chapter. I'm going to hit some of the hypocrisies, and I'm going to read you some of my favorite quotes from it, as I have been doing. So the chapter opens with Harry doing to Dr. Sophie what he and Meghan accused the royal family of doing. We're going to say a big fat allegedly because lawsuits are ongoing in this, but Tom Bower, I tend to believe he's well researched. And again, he is an attorney. So if anybody knows what they're talking about and what they can say, I would say it's Tom Bower. So he goes in by pointing out the stunning irony here that Harry and Meghan spent years accusing the royal family of being the Istwards, massage, race, things like that, the bull stuff, right? And institutional cruelty. And that's exactly what she's accusing Harry of doing to her as well. So Dr. Sophie, of course, is the Sentebale chair, and she's publicly accused him of exactly this kind of stuff, the exact same things that Meghan claimed that the royals did to her. And we've heard reports of Harry running to the press, and it gets into it more in this chapter, running to the press to try to smear Dr. Sophie. So again, the hypocrisy is just off the charts here. Chandauka describes feeling undermined, disrespected, and pushed aside, especially during the infamous over here polo incident and the board audit fallout. Bower calls this the ultimate full circle moment. Those two have become the institution they claimed victimhood from. So that's how the chapter starts. Then we go into Meghan's self-pity and self-love and all of her embellishments. So it examines her recent projects with Love Meghan, interviews a lot of the Limonada, the podcast, things like that, and how they are drenched in her self-pity. Again, funny in real time because that's exactly what we got in Australia. That's all she has. But claiming she was the most bold woman for 10 years and all this stuff. Exaggerated victim stories, constant, I don't know, look at me, pity me. Oh, why didn't I think of that before? Oh, pity me type things. Bower's noting that Meghan repeatedly embellishes her past, portraying herself as a self-made underdog who overcame immense hardship while conveniently leaving out privileges, connections, opportunities, her dad, things like that she actually had. Every project circles back to my truth, my struggle, my resilience, me. And very little to zero original thought, content, substance, however you want to say it. It's all about centering Meghan as both victim and hero in every story. So again, the idea of the chapter is the contrasting lives. While Harry and Meghan are wallowing in self-pity and endless grievances, as we've seen, Catherine quietly battled cancer with grace and dignity, giving hope to millions without turning it into a media spectacle. King Charles and William continue public service and institutional duties without complaint, even under immense personal strain. Those two, by contrast, have turned every setback into public performance of victimhood while demanding royal-level perks and attention. Of course, the hypocrisy that is just glaring here is that Harry and Meghan are accusing the royal family of these things, and Harry is now accused of the exact same behavior toward a highly accomplished Black woman, Dr. Sophie Chandauka. They claim they left the royals to escape the bull stuff and toxicity, yet created their own alleged toxic, high turnover environment wherever they go. Meghan preaches self-love and empowerment and authenticity, while her projects are filled with embellishment, self-pitying stories that feel absolutely inauthentic and frankly narcissistic. They demand privacy and criticize the press, yet constantly use the media to push their embellished victimhood for profit. So there you go. That's pretty much what the chapter is about. It's everything we know of them and everything we've seen. I would say especially lately, but it's been throughout. It's everything we've seen of them, right? So let me read you some of my favorite quotes from this chapter. Again, it's a little bit longer chapter. It starts out on page 368. It's talking about, again, right off the bat, the Dr. Sophie of it all. And Harry was trying to eject Dr. Sophie off the board. Chandauka applied to London's High Court to pause board meetings. She got it pushed through that it was paused for, I believe it was about 6 weeks. Temporarily, the trustees were unable to remove her. Thank goodness for that. Harry ended up, according to Tom Bower, he took on some pretty radical tactics after this, including outlining reasons for what he thought was his dismissal. He addressed it private and confidential, or the board of trustees did. And allegedly, he emailed it to all of Sentebale's staff. So it was leaked out. She calls it a horrible letter and says it's all about discrediting and, quote, destroying me. That's what she calls it hugely defamatory. So good for her for speaking up and calling out the nonsense here. Until then, the charity was able to keep some of the stuff under wraps, including Dr. Sophie's court proceedings. So again, I would say, think about that. Dr. Sophie's there trying, it sounds like to me, trying to do the right thing, trying to earn money for this charity and trying to keep it afloat and keep private the turmoil within. And then here's Harry being accused of leaking this stuff out to create havoc, to try to get his way, to whatever you want to call it. I would say more than pouting, but you get the idea that he's pouting because they didn't all just bend to his will immediately. And so he leaks it. He really is. I mean, he's a prick. All right. He then handed a statement to the Times. Again, he pretends to hate the media, and he's talking to the media that his charity is, quote, being destroyed by one woman's gross mismanagement. So again, it's not that he did anything wrong here. He's trying to blame Dr. Sophie for everything. So he thought the right thing to do would be to announce his and Prince Siso, hopefully I'm saying that right. That's the charity's co-founder in Botswana. They announced their own resignations. They both said that they were truly heartbroken and devastated over this. Doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like you're super into the charity, in my opinion. 2 hours after the resignation, Dr. Sophie brilliantly decided to take on Harry's tactics and did a full blast to the media. So she denounced Harry for wanting to force a failure and then come in to the rescue. She feels like that was his plan. And I got to say, good for her for speaking out about it. And yeah, I think it sounds like it to me. So she talks about herself being the scapegoat here because she dared blow the whistle. She calls it a, quote, weak governance, weak executive management, abuse of power, bull, harass, massage, and cover up that ensued. Bluntly, Harry was accused of the evil which Meghan leveled at the royal family. So again, full circle, hypocrisy, all of that stuff. But good for Dr. Sophie for speaking out. And as we know, that is ongoing. So I can't wait to see how that goes. Harry loves to go to court. So how about this one, Harry? How are you going to handle this one? All right. In the meantime, so much other stuff was going on. Simultaneously, the African parks denial, as I mentioned before, I have to look down because I have notes. This stuff is really complicated. I don't want to get it wrong. So that's what I'm looking at when I look down. Okay. So at the meantime, Harry is trying to say, well, Harry and African parks are denying that there was bad stuff going on in the parks, but it was during this time that it was exposed that that's not true, that it was bad. And it sounds like that here it is. Omnia Strategy, the London law firm, reported that, quote, human rights abuses have occurred against the Baka people. African Parks Rangers were culpable. Survivor International called on Harry to resign. He refused. Unbelievable. Then, a few days later, he showed up to this Upfront Summit in Los Angeles. It was, I don't even remember what this one was. It had to do with mental health, but he does so many of these, it doesn't even matter. It sounds like, according to Tom Bower at this one, people were so disgusted with Harry, few were clapping. He was dubbed, quote, the relic of a media cycle. He, quote, rehashed everything. And Tom Bower's pointing out that that brand had died. Too late. Enough, you know. He had become, quote, background noise in a non-essential entity. I'm sorry, non-essential non-entity. That's better. That's exactly what I think as well. So then we flash forward. The Times then, who originally had, sounds like, been pro Harry and Meghan, started to flip. They were showing the difference of the actual working royals and the royal family and their contrasting lives. Because at that time, William had put out that the next venue for Earthshot would be Rio, and that the organization's new CEO is Jason Knopf, who famously helped with the bullying report. And then at the foot of that same page was a report of Harry's heartbreak about Sentebale. The Charity Commission intended to investigate whether Chandauka's payment of, it would have been about $500,000 to consultants was a conflict of interest, one of many damaging rumors spread by the former trustees. So if you don't remember that, that was a rumor that was spread around, again, as he points out, by the former trustees, where Chandauka says, no, it was to help the charity to try to, I believe, see, I'm getting confused. She had made a couple of payments, and I believe it was to consultants to help bring in the large donors. She needed help with that. And then there was, I think that's what that was about on that one. But regardless, it sounds to me, and I'm not just blindly supporting Sophie, I'm saying it sounds to me like Sophie was there trying to save this charity and Harry was there trying to destroy it. if it meant getting out Sophie. That's so messed up. All right. In the meantime, we have Meghan. Oh, goodness gracious. So again, rehashing this past, the self-pity, self-love, oh, I'm up at 3, worrying about packaging and then making lunches for my kid, whatever she's peddling this week. This was about the time that Meghan's Confessions of a Female Flounder podcast was happening. In a strange move, her publicist revealed, quote, she had suffered an obscure illness during pregnancy. Her announcement was accompanied by childhood photographs taken by her father. This is so weird. I didn't even I remember this. I do. I feel like she was glomming onto a guest story of a guest had a complication during pregnancy. So Meghan took that on too. And Tom Bower points out, must have been a coincidence. And also coincidentally, it was announced that only hours after, this was announced only hours after King Charles had received his latest cancer treatment in a London hospital. I'm sure that's coincidence. It never is. Never is. What do you think? Nope. All right. Oh, goodness gracious. So again, it's just more of her crap. I don't need, let's keep going because it's just more of her same crap, different day, right? Let's see here. Continuing on. Harry is trying to play victim. He decides to, because he's doing so poorly at this Sentebale thing and everything else, he decides what else, his favorite cycle, he takes it back out on the royal family. So at the same time, he was losing the protection, although, again, let's point out that he's a spoiled brat. They didn't take away protection. They offered him bespoke protection, Ravik. I've read so much more about this and understand it way more clearly than I previously did. And it sounds like, again, if I understand this correctly, Ravik is outside of the royal family. They decide, they're a body that decides what amount of protection and what situation is appropriate outside the royal family. Harry doesn't seem to understand this, so he just keeps blaming his father. And the more he's losing cases and, things are out of control by his own doing, the more he's taking it out. And in my opinion, it's abuse. What he's doing to especially his father, but the royal family, all these attacks. So he left the courtroom. And again, this is about the protection stuff. And suspecting he lost, quote, keen to get his version out first. What did Harry do? He wanted to give a media interview, the same media he pretends to hate. So he got this woman who's helping them, Meredith Maines. She summoned the Daily Telegraph, which, by the way, somebody in my comments, I forgot to Google it, said that this Maines person is also involved in Blake Lively. I was like, ooh, juicy. That sounds right. I'm not a fan. Okay. Anyway, so they summoned Daily Telegraph, and Harry proceeds to say, quote, people would be shocked by what's being held back. And what he's talking about there is, again, this victim narrative. He's saying that he was in real danger and real threats, and they're not protecting him and all. He's the victim. And he claims it was blackmail by the palace. Okay. Because they wanted to prevent Megxit and force them back into the royal fold. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. And you weren't denied protection. You can still get protection. You just have to play by the rules. Everybody understands this except for Harry. It's so crazy. All right. So this was also around the time where he went ringing doorbells. Tom Bower points out, he must have been lonely after losing court cases and, turning on everyone and then being shocked that nobody wants to be your friend anymore. He went looking for friends and rang the wrong doorbells, remember? And all the doorbell footage was released. I find that so funny. He's so scared he can't go to the UK except for he can wander around and ring random doorbells. Okay, sure. I guess he felt safe to do that, weirdo. All right, continuing on. Let's see here. Harry was lost in London, literally. Meghan was alone in Montecito, giving her critics the impression that she was listening again and again to Limonada podcasts and rewatching herself on Netflix and failing to understand why she was targeted by ridicule because she's always a victim. Nothing's her fault. So then she goes on that, I can't stand her, the Jamie baby voice. She talks like Pebbles from Pebbles and Bam Bam, right? Or from Flintstones. I'm Jamie. But if you watch her earlier stuff, she didn't talk like that. I'm Jamie. Can you imagine? I'm Jamie. I'm Meghan. I'm the most bold person in the world. Meghan's taken on this Elizabeth Holmes speech. One drop of I'm the victim. I'm Jamie. Anyway, oh God, I can't with that. Anyway, so then we see a shift. Tom Bower, I almost said Harry. Tom Bower points out she's starting to, quote, clinging to her children to promote herself generally. So rare photos became constantly, he calls it a blizzard of images. I'd say that's right. And now in real time, she's launched those candles because it couldn't just be that she named a candle Archie and Lily. She had to name them Prince of Sussex. Whatever. So stupid. Oh, God. She wanted her children addressed on her insistence as prince and princess to lead normal lives. Make that make sense. You can't. That's the BS she's peddling. And then Bower points out many royal children, including those of Princess Anne, I believe Sophie's kids, the same thing, that they don't use their titles. But remember, Meghan told Oprah, quote, I think everyone has a basic right to privacy. She doesn't seem to believe that with her own kids because she's showing them a lot and talking about them. So they're not being given that choice. Okay. Thomas Markle, in the meantime, is speaking out saying, and Meghan is not spontaneous. Everything she says is, quote, pre-planned and rehearsed. I know when she's faking it for the cameras. She's trying hard to be perfect. She tenses up every time the camera's on her. I was like, yes, you go, Thomas Markle. That's right. Tell him. And that's exactly it. And as I pointed out in an earlier chapter, one of my favorite lines from this whole book came from, now I'm going to get it wrong and I don't have it in front of me. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. Meghan comes off as completely robotic because she's so busy trying to control everything. So she does not come off as genuine at all. I would say that's putting it nicely. All right, continuing on. Same time. Remember that weird episode of Beyonce's mom popped up after the fact? I didn't even listen to that one. I listened to her, what was it, that podcast, Female Founder. I listened and recapped them. You can definitely go back and watch those if you want. But I never listened to the Beyonce mom one because it's Tina Knowles is her name, because it came out so much later. And I was like, well, this is weird. And I never got around to it and whatever. Well, according to Tom Bower, what happened there is she sat down with her at the same time as everybody else, but allegedly everybody knew it was such a big fat flop that Meghan was so flat in this one. I'm trying to find exactly how he posted it. I don't even know. They decided the interview was best forgotten. So that was going on, but she then decided that it'd be disrespectful to Beyonce. I don't think Beyonce loses sleep over Meghan. If she didn't release the episode, so they scrambled and they released the episode and it was a big fat flop. So there's that. I didn't listen to it, but Bower's pointing out that the focus of this thing is Meghan talks about wanting to go into business with Lily in the future. I hope Lily writes a tell-all. I hope they both write a tell-all. Archie's will be, why did mom always pose with Lily and not me. And Lily's will be, why didn't I have any privacy and why didn't you brush my hair? I don't know. I'm never making fun of the kids. I'm just making fun of the idiot parents. They're so weird. All right. Continuing on. What else was going on? Netflix, again. Oh, they thought that Netflix would commission possibly a third series of Meghan's show. But if that was going to happen, allegedly she was supposed to provide an outline of content. And then Netflix would have first right of refusal. And the reason I'm smiling like this is because I believe that that's what happened. And then I believe, this is my opinion, as soon as I heard this, I started thinking, oh, remember she was going around telling people Netflix and I have a first look deal. No, it sounds like your programming was so shitty. They said, listen, before we agree to film any more of you, you have to show us what you're thinking first. We're not just going to film anything because it's a disaster. That's what I think. I think that's how she's spinning it. So I'm guessing she tried for a third season and they're like, no, that's just my speculation, but that's what it sounds like to me. They're like, no. So I just think it's funny to see. There's always, they always say there's two sides to every story. There's like 14 sides to every story, but there's two sides to every story. So it's interesting to hear Meghan's spin on things and then find out what I think really happened. I think that's really funny. All right, what else was going on? Meghan was looking for anything, so she jumped on the opportunity to seize an award. And the award in question here is Time Magazine's 100 Summit. Now, what's funny is she agreed to go to this thing. That was the one in New York where she was dressed in beige. I know that's not anything, but she was barging in front of Harry. Again, that happens all the time. But it was straight out of the car, and she was just like manically smiling and elbowing him out of the way and rushing up, remember? Well, what's funny about this is they point out she was dying to be there to be interviewed, but Time didn't even present her with any kind of award. She was not listed among the magazine's most influential, and Time slammed With Love Meghan under the headline, quote, a royal prime on entertaining that couldn't be more boring. So that was going on, and yet she still agreed to be interviewed. They said that's a sign of how desperate things were for her. And this is where she needed a 4-car convoy, 2 police cars, 1 for their bodyguards, and their own SUV. So that was in April of 2025, I believe. All right. What's funny is they've still continued to fall further, in my opinion, than that. Think about this Australia disaster. Ew. All right. Continuing on. Let's see here. So Catherine had posted a video of Louis on his 7th birthday running around Anmer Hall in Sandringham. So hours later, what happens? Meghan posts Instagram of herself kissing Harry. So then the British newspapers published a photo of baby Louis, or little Louis, with his 2 front teeth missing, sitting on a tree stump in a field of bluebells. So that's what prompted Meghan to do we got to get back because Archie, because the tooth fairy is going to come for little Archie. It's because Prince Louis had been featured in this photo hours before. She's such a psycho. Can you imagine being so threatened by your niece and your nephews and that you have to do things like this? You have to make up stories about, we have to be back home for the tooth fairy. No, it's because they weren't receiving an award, it sounds like. But they say things like that because little Prince Louis was in the news for his cute little photo of missing teeth. That is some psycho stuff. Imagine any kid and their aunts or uncles are trying to compete with them for a battle of attention. That is absolutely pathetic. Everything they do is pathetic, but that is absolutely pathetic. It really is. Nothing new. It's just completely pathetic. I just want to point that out. All right. Let's see. Continuing on. Again, a birthday photo of Charlotte. So what does Meghan do? She posts photos of Harry and the kids in the garden. So we're just about to go through this. It's almost Prince Louis's birthday, and then it'll be Princess Charlotte's birthday, and I believe William and Catherine's anniversary. So she will be doing lots of things, I'm sure, to try to get attention for herself. But remember, they claim through their pal Plastic Man, they don't do things like that. They said that in one of those stupid books that he wrote. And I said at the time, I said, I've done whole videos, at least one I know of. I think I did more than one, where I show they absolutely do that. We all have brains. We know they do that. And if Plastic Man's saying they don't do that, then they definitely do that. Let's see here. Harry's still whining about protection. I don't care. I'm moving on from that. Oh, this is where we get he's blaming a good old-fashioned establishment stitch-up. Remember that? For losing in court. That's for the protection thing. He lost in court, so he blamed that and says, it's really quite sad that I won't be able to show my children my homeland. I mean, again, shall we visit the places that they've been and talk safety numbers? Okay, great. Sure. The climax to this was Harry's accusation, quote, that the king was entirely to blame. Again, Harry doesn't understand anything, so he irrationally blames his father. He was clearly confused. Initially, he demanded that his father should interfere, but finally lamented that his father had not. Unbelievable. Except for that it's totally believable. Then he was worried that he could be banished from Britain altogether. And I'm thinking, wouldn't that be delicious? He put out a statement that said, there's no point to fight anymore. Life is precious. And then with calculated heartlessness, he added, quote, I don't know how much longer my father has. It's absolutely sickening. So again, it's allegedly, but it sounds like he hadn't spoken to King Charles. He's just putting this out knowing that it would put out speculation over Charles's health and things like that. I find it so revolting and sickening. And again, he's using the press that he pretends to hate, and he's taking jabs at his father, and it's private health matters. And he's out there talking about stuff like this. Ugh. Absolutely sickening. It was so bad that the palace ended up putting out their own report. It posted its own statement saying, quote, all of these issues have been examined repeatedly and meticulously by the courts, with the same conclusion reached on every occasion. So there you go. Well, I mean, again, Harry's so stupid. He doesn't understand that it's him and not the world against him. 9 days after this, Meghan posted a picture of herself with her 2 kids marketing Mother's Day. In a move surely designed to irritate the palace, they were captioned Prince and Princess. And I think that's funny because, again, in real time, we have these Prince and Princess candles coming out. Meghan played up to what was surely to irk William and the rest of the royal family, and was trying to make a rival court in California. And that's how the chapter ends. And I thought it was a darn good chapter full of lots of juicy information. But that's going to do it for that one. You have to let me know your thoughts on this. Oh, those 2 are the worst. But do you see what I mean? It's like she's never been able to hide how bad she was. He, on the other hand, hid it with the help of the palace for a while. But now that he's free to moan instead of free to roam, I just came up with that off the fly. On the fly, off the top of my head. How about that? Free to moan. Now that he's free to moan, he surely is, and people can see how awful he is. All on his own. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. I hope you enjoyed this chapter as much as I did. And I want to finish this book, but I also don't want to finish this book. We don't have much more to go. So I'm going to finish the last, 2 chapters, I think? Finish those up. I'll give you my overall thoughts, my highs, my lows, everything in between. Then at some point, I'll probably put out some mega compilations of this. I'm here all week. It doesn't even matter because I'll have stuff posted next week, but I'm planning to take next week off And then when I get back, I'm going to jump on that Queen Elizabeth book. In fact, bear with me. I should have had this ready to go. I did not. I found out there are 2 Queen Elizabeth books. I don't want you to get confused. I'm going to go with I think his name is Hugo. But let me make sure so you know which one I'm going to be talking about, because I hear there's juicy bits about Harry and Meghan there as well. It is, here we go. Hugo Vickers. Thank you, Maria, for the help on this one. Hugo Vickers, Queen Elizabeth II, The Remarkable Life of Our Queen. I'm sorry, I said the name wrong. Let me try this again. This is by Hugo Vickers. Here's the actual name of it. Queen Elizabeth II, The Remarkable Life of Our Nation's Most Beloved Monarch. So I will start that one in the next, I don't know, couple weeks. I want to go on vacation, just take a couple days, take a breather. I will have stuff up, so check back. Again, it's not till next week, so I'm here. I'm recording with John Witherspoon soon, so if you have questions for him, let me know. And I'll have some stuff up while I'm gone, and then I plan to jump into that book once I finish this book. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you had the best day. I love Queen Elizabeth II. Again, I think this is probably going up Monday, and Her Majesty the late Queen's birthday is on Tuesday. So look for content about that and check back lots. I'm posting all the time right now. No particular schedule. Just as soon as I can get these up, I'm posting them. So check back. Thank you to everybody who's been watching my shorts. They're taking off huge. Thank you for that. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on all this. I can't wait to bring you more stuff like this soon. Take care. Have the best day. Bye-bye. Hi, how are you doing? How are things? What's going on? Yeah, so this book is so good. I love it. I think Tom Bower is doing phenomenal. There's so much information here, and there's so much that I feel like I've learned behind the scenes from reading this book. So I can't recommend it to you enough. Again, it is the Betrayal. I don't make anything by recommending it, so it's up to you. I'm just telling you, I'm really enjoying it. It's been my favorite of the Harry and Meghan books that I've read. And I loved Revenge, but this one to me is even better. This one is better. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. What do you think, Cantankerous? Cantankerous says we love Her Majesty the late Queen very much. So check back tomorrow for stuff on that, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.